filmmaker. His film was shown only 3 days in Paris and then passing away. That means in other places where nobody is talking about it. So that's a challenge, a common challenge now, because business is business. You can understand that the filmmakers, they want also to earn their money, to get their money back, because the production is very heavy, production investments. But then I will say no, because you can do a film with this kind of, yes, your telephone, you can do your mobile, you can do a movie. And the youngsters are more keen to do it because they have these facilities, and you have more youngsters, even not those coming from the schools, from the film schools, are doing movies, clips or whatever, then putting them on any Facebook or on YouTube, whatever. You can watch them. But they are not organized in such a way that we are telling. UNESCO did 1 year how you call it, concours, a competition for a clip, which was very successful. But we did it only once because nobody was really interested in it. Can I technically reply to you? I totally agree with you. That can be done by satellite networks or whatever. You can show, you don't need to be physically here to queue. I'm sorry for these people here of Goa, but close to Goa might be people to know the selected films, but that can be done by any network. You know the opera, the Metropolitan Opera, you can sit in Paris, of course with the time difference. You can have the show, I mean the opera, in a dark room in Paris. They are doing this more and more. So that for film, of course, can be done. I agree with you. A lot of people, professionals coming to one place and to watch films, which I may say is discrimination in some way, because everybody is entitled to see your own films, whatever, and to change it, but that can be done due to the new technologies. I'm representing ITU, the International Telecommunication Union. We are discussing this, of course, not only on the net with small screens, but also in France. You have no more physical material. They are sending the films during the night, or even in the support of radio frame. When you have a broadcasting transmission, you have a support frequency in which you can introduce, of course, a message or the material, film material, which are download, and during the day you can show it at schools or whatever, in movies, and this is the facilities which is now on and more. Of course, then the author rights is coming up. That's another problem, because of course the creators, the directors, I mean the creators, the artists, they want to get also their money, and that's another problem, which is then internationally to be settled. And you know the European Commission is also heavily involved in it, against the American, flow of information or film material or features, films, in which they are then in conflict with the international authors' rights.
Any other questions, please?
Because obviously the film industry is very independent, as you know better than me. But we try simply to promote values through dialogue. And in the past, there was no dialogue between international organizations and the film industry. Before working for UNESCO, I was with the UN itself in New York, where we created a creative community outreach initiative, something that I initiated simply because we didn't have platforms or fora to exchange with the film industry. And we did not really understand each other. And it's the same pretty much for all international organizations in the film industry. So again, the short answer to your question is by creating new fora, platforms for dialogue, to explain why we think transmitting values through film is important. Sometimes the two are very much at odds. This push is very much at odds with what the film industry will want to do. But I think we've made progress, and that's why it is important to invest time and efforts with the film industry in general, individually with the producers, the directors, and those who write the scripts and scenarios. It's also important to invest in film festivals, which was not something that we were doing in the past. Until very recently, UNESCO was not involved in Cannes, was not involved with other film industries. So this is changing, and we want to engage in this dialogue, and it's only long term that we hope to be able to promote the values and the culture that we think should also be demonstrated in films. It's not by criticizing outright the film industry that we're going to make a difference, clearly.
Any other